whole purpose is to help Malaysia to build a better community and healthy one in the midst of having the business of that. All right. So yeah, let's kickstart with the questions, right? So if I was to ask you, you can just answer anytime. So I think we just start with the first questions, right? Like, actually, what did Pokemon cards means to you when you were young? Is it mean something like friendship, competition, or collection? Because some I know they started from playing the cards like competition. They're actually using vintage base set to actually create a structure that to kickstart the Pokemon games, right? Some is just purely collection, and some is just because the mom influence bring them to a place they just bought the card out of nowhere. Yeah.
Right. So for me, at least, I wasn't around during base set.
Okay.
I was born in 2005, so I missed the whole, beginning. For most of my earlier years, Pokemon was not as popular. Most people know like the whole 2004 or 5 until evolutions or generations was like super stagnant. Like a lot of people, didn't really. It wasn't as popular as it once was. So I first started collecting cards, literally just buying packs at like my local grocery just to collect. And, they were like fake cards, but, to me, I still enjoyed it. And then I stepped out of it for a little bit, came back once Evolutions and Generations were released and collected it for about a year or two. I always played with my sister, even we didn't know how to play, but to me, it's a lot of my childhood memories. And it's also a lot of I really started that's the first thing I really started collecting before anything else. So to me, it holds a pretty special place in my heart.
I see. Do you watch any movies or play any game before collecting the cards?
I watched a few. I used to watch the recorded DVDs or I don't remember if it was. I think it was DVDs, not VHSs, but some of the Diamond and Pearl era shows and the anime show. But I watched the American version, obviously. I don't know if you guys watched the American or Japanese with subtitles, or if I don't think they made a Malaysian one, right?
We do have Americans and Japanese as well. It depends on which one you get. And because in our Malaysia community, we have the night market. If you heard of it, we have people selling fake DVDs. So it's really it's really like an opening pack. Do you get a US style of Pokemon or Japanese? So I have combination of both. Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah. So that's why it's quite funny to have Ash Ketchum in different voices.
Yeah.
So how about you, Grant? How do you come to Pokemon,
So I'm a little older than Max. I was born 2001.
Okay.
So I remember my first time finding out about Pokemon, I went to my friend's house and he had a Game Boy and he had Pokemon Ruby. And he's like, "Yo, look at this or whatever." And I thought it was so cool. I had no idea what it was. I was 4 years old probably, so I couldn't even read. But I wanted it, and so for my 5th birthday, my parents got me a Game Boy with Pokemon Fire Red, and so that was my first game, and I loved it. I picked Squirtle, and I loved it. And then, sure enough, the next year, Diamond and Pearl came out on the DS. So I'm like, "Yo, I need to get this one now." My parents were like, "Oh my god!" And so, I got that, and that was really what started it for me. Was I love the games, and then I watched the shows, and then naturally I bought the cards because I liked them, but I had no idea how to play the game. Just collecting, trading with friends, in the playground. And then a few years later, we actually had a house fire, and so I lost all my childhood cards. All of them gone.
All right. Okay.
And so I was getting a little older, so I thought I was getting too cool for Pokemon, but then sure enough, a few years later, my friends and I started playing the games again, and then once that happened, I got super hooked again. I was playing the video games competitively, and then I was still just buying the cards and collecting mostly. I never really got into that TCG game, just collecting the cards and playing the video games.
I see. I got you, man. I think Ruby is my starting game as well, and
oh, nice.
I think Game Boy is the one that my mom. I think the most expensive thing that my mom bought to me, because my financial is not that good. And I remember the time I received the Game Boy, what the hell is this? Why you can open it? So my one is the open one, not the old one. I
Mhm.
remember the Ruby Sapphire. I deleted my cousin brother because my cousin brother have another one, and I don't know how to play Pokemon. I asked my dad like, "The hell? What I need to do now?" Because he's starting a game, you need to go to the grass, right? And I asked my dad. My dad looked at me like, "Hey, you need to go to the grass." I'm like, "What the hell?" so I think the most memories I have for Ruby Sapphire is that I deleted my cousin brother Groudon. You know, the only legendary you can get in the game. So yeah, I think that's how I evolved from there, and I got your feelings then. Yeah. So now, when it comes to you transitioning from your hobby, from your memories, right? Then I want to ask, because when you started to collect Pokemon card, like what do you remember your very first card that I would say you made in love with?
I don't remember exactly what mine was. I just remember the prime cards specifically were like, because that's what I was opening. I was opening fake Heart Gold Soul Silver packs.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled like a prime card with like 10,000 HP or something, and I was like, oh my god, this is the shit. I'm like, this is what I need to be going after. But I will say, once I got back into Pokemon around COVID, I actually have with me one of the cards that I bought. The very first card I bought on eBay online was this Alakazam that I eventually graded. But yeah, it's the Expedition Alakazam. I mean, I always love Japanese cards. Always, like, when I found one of my old like Christmas wish lists, and everything on it was like Japanese cards. So those have always been the ones that I'm after. But yeah, if you all the way from the start, it's the prime cards for me.
I see. I hear you. I hear you. So, how about Grant? Like, do you have remember your very first card?
So when I was younger, I was like towards the end of EX era, so like you could still find like, EX Deoxys and stuff, in the stores. Which when I was younger, I actually pulled a Gold Star Latias, which is really cool. I didn't really think anything of it at the time, but looking back, like it's pretty cool to have that. And then I also remember I traded my cousin for a Gold Star Vaporeon. I'm pretty sure I like totally destroyed him on the trade, but like I didn't even really know what it was worth either. I just thought it was like cool. So I was like, oh, the star ones are nice. So those two are probably like from my childhood my most like fondly remembered cards. But when I got back into collecting and like buying like higher end cards like PSA slabs in like 2015 or so. The first one I bought was I actually have it somewhere. I picked out a few cards to show you guys. I didn't grab that one, but there's actually the Mysterious Mountains Gyarados, PSA 10, Japanese. It's like a really nice art.
Yep.
I think it's Kusajima who drew it. But yeah, I just thought that card was super cool, and the Japanese at the time was so cheap. So I was like, that was like what I could afford, and so I bought that one. But I also like Max, really like the Japanese promos. Like the second card I bought was actually the McDonald's Squirtle, which is like one of the most popular cards. Now I think everyone loves the Squirtle blowing the bubble.
I see. I got you. So yeah, I think when it comes to the first card you ever have, so I think we always have our first moment, the hobby moment, the child moment. Then how does all this thing transition from being just a collector, from don't know anything, we get fake cards, we don't know what the price were, we don't know anything. Now, how do you guys actually from being a collector transition into the business side, and who inspired you or supported you in the journey?
So the way that it started for me, like turning into a business, was actually really, really straightforward. So I always loved Japanese cards. One of my close friends during COVID taught me how to order cards from Japan and like introduced me to my very first like proxy service where I could buy them and hold them at the proxy service and ship them all together here. So I would buy promo cards because in 2020 they were like disgustingly cheap. I mean, you could just find them anywhere, everywhere for super cheap prices. So I would just hoard as many as I could, import them all, and then eventually, I would show them off in like Discord groups or whatever, because that's where that's where I met a lot of the friends were through Pokemon, like very early on is through Discord. So I'll just post them there and people start asking me like, hey, can I order some with you? Because, everyone wanted the promos as well. But as far as like inspiration stuff, before, back when I was a kid. I remember like watching some of the Pokemon YouTubers. Like I don't remember explicitly who they were, but like I know Unlisted Leaf was one of them. And I was like, God, I wish I could open Pokemon packs for a living.
I got you. I got you in the feeling, man. Yep.
So, but I will say, like, the biggest support I've received since I started it has definitely been like my father. He's always been there for me, and you know, always supported it because he also ran his own business from childhood. So, like, he understands what it's like.
I see. So your dad having the same route, but it's not just Pokemon, right?
No. He ran a
see.
computer store.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Grant, how about you?
So I was originally selling cards to just buy more cards for my collection. I didn't really go into this with the plan of it ever being a business. I just liked it. And as I started to sell more cards, started to see, I'm like, oh, I can make money. Like if I just grade this and then, gets a 10, then I sell it for a profit. And then for me, what got me, I was already on like Instagram pretty early, like 2015 or so. I was on like Pokemon Instagram. And so I knew some people through there, but then actually the first Collecticon I went to in 2021 really like blew it up for me in terms of just like seeing the amount of people who are also, trying to run a business. And I'd never seen so many cards before. Like in my area, we don't really have any good card stores or anything. So for me, this was like really eye-opening. And then it kind of made me want to push and try to like grow my page more as a business than as a, I guess, collection. And over time, I started to just kind of collect less and run the business more. It's kind of hard to balance, collecting and business because you're using the same amount of money. You're using the same money pretty much to either make more money or like put stuff away. We can talk more about that later, but that's kind of a battle I think that some people face is
Yeah,
what to PC and what to resell.
I think that's actually just lead to our next questions. Like actually, like how do you balance between the, of making sure you are making profit while you are protecting the spirit of the community? Because, as my personal experience, and also I heard from someone, when it comes to money, there is less of, I would say, Pokemon. If you get what I mean, there's no such thing like, hey, you like this card, so I'm willing to give you lesser price. In order to suit your price and your passions. So yeah, how do you balance in this both way?
So I'll say first off, for me, when it comes to like personally PCing items or not, it's really hard for me to PC stuff because I'm super nitpicky about condition and also rarity. So like a lot of the stuff that I put away, I only ever buy it when it comes on auction, like one time every year or one time every 6 months. But as far as, keeping the spirit of like collecting within the hobby, I mean, our store is known for like having the best pricing hands down pretty much when it comes to cards. So we like to always make sure that we're basically the lowest price on the market, and we don't make people wait until, either prices drop or an auction comes up that they have to try and snipe. So, I mean, we have a lot of like even resellers that buy from us as well. So I think we do a pretty good job at keeping the prices low enough to where it doesn't make people feel like they're really overpaying for something that they want.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think one thing that always kind of makes me laugh and maybe is a bit hard to deal with sometimes is people ask for a deal because it's for their PC. They'll be like, this is for my PC, bro. Like, come on, give me a deal. And, like, I really try to price things like as fair as possible, regardless of if you're going to resell it or if you're actually going to keep it and, for 50 years or whatever. But I would say, yeah, it's mostly just for us trying to just price things competitively to begin with. And, I get it. Like there was one time that was pretty cool where we had bought this entire EX master set. So it was like 159 cards of all like the old EXs. They're all like PSA 9s and 10s. And one guy reached out to us, and he actually had like his EX set on the PSA set registry, and it was all nines, and he needed 3 cards to complete his like 159 card set.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so since we had a master set, we were able to actually help him, complete the last 3 that he needed. It was like Ho-Oh, Armaldo, and then this Deoxys from Pop Series. So that was, cool to help that guy complete a goal that he'd been working on for like a really long time. So, I was happy to help him out, but I think it can be hard, sometimes I don't know. We just try to price things fairly from the start, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of people have like they expect us to have a lot of room to work with, and that's one thing I'm going to make pretty clear. Like in general, our margins are considerably lower than like a lot of other people I know working in this industry, and whenever prices on cards drop, we tend to match immediately, even if that means taking a loss, like a small loss on
Okay.
on our own cost. So I would rather sell the card and not try and price gouge people over, like 20, 30, $40 saying, hey, like this is lower than my cost, so I can't do it. Like sometimes it does come to that point where I'll be like, I'm sorry, I can't give you a deal. Like, I understand like you need it, but like we can't just like lose money on it. But a lot of the time, my point is just we try and match the absolute lowest price that someone can get it for.
I see. So would you mind to share, like, because you are saying that, every time you are trying to match the market and below it, like how many percents of lower than the market?
So when we buy stuff, a lot of the time, like we try to buy cards that are over like $200 usually. So we'll buy in the range of like, I'd say like on average, like 85 to like 88% usually, which is pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, let's say like a $600 card becomes, $550 card, I mean, that's like all the card's already gone down like almost 10% value. It's dropped like 8%, right? So that gives us a pretty tight margin. I'd say we usually will just price around last solds, and then usually we will only negotiate probably like 3 or 4%, like when we post a claim sale for like a large lot. Luckily, like we have a lot of people who actually just buy like huge chunks of inventory from us, and then, they'll happily take it, 96% of our sticker because it's already, priced pretty fairly. But like the way I'd like to kind of explain how our business works is a lot of the time, like we'll make $100 by making $10 on 10 cards. Well, maybe some other people will make $100 by like selling 5 cards and making $20 each on them, if that makes sense. It's like tighter margin, but a lot more volume.
I see. It's more on quantity. All right. I got you. Yeah. What about Max? Is it same answer?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're pretty successful in being able to be the lowest price because like there's been a lot of competition recently on our claim sales. A lot of cards tend to sell out incredibly quickly. So it's really tough for some people, but like I would rather have that situation than ask 10% higher. And, like Grant said, I would much rather sell the cards for less margin if that means, we're keeping more people happy and we're also able to cycle more inventory faster.
I see. I get you on that. So now, in the midst of this, because you are trying to, I'm not really protecting the margin, but to keep the margin is there so that you guys can be surviving as well. Then I would say, what has been your hardest challenge in midst of doing this? Have you faced any real case study, like any people that
I mean, some cards will just drop. Like an example was, that Hoopa XY promo that has like the Rayquaza and the Lugia and stuff on it.
Yeah.
So that card like shot up out of nowhere, and like it was like what $200 in a PSA 10,
oh, yeah.
and then it jumped to over $2,000. And so, if the card is selling for something at market price, like consistently, I'll happily just take it at a discount because usually we can move it. But there's an example of this where, we bought some that were in Japan. So they were sitting in Japan like for a while, because they hadn't been shipped. We were waiting to ship a lot of stuff over at once. And so we bought them for, percent of what was the market price at the time. And then the card, dropped a good amount because it was a bit artificially inflated, maybe. A lot of them got listed on the market at once, and, it was kind of hard for it to maintain that price. So on those, like, we took a huge loss, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe we
That's
paid. I mean, our job is right to determine how volatile a card is, and based on that, buy it. Either don't buy it or buy it very relative. Like be cautious. So we paid, like, in comparison to what the market price was, we paid very cheap. I mean, when they were auctioning for around 2,000 USD, we were paying, I think, close to like $1,200 for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I figured, $800 is a pretty big stretch. Like, it's a lot of room, right? But by the time we got them in, they were dropped to about $900, and I believe we sold most of them off around 850 to 900. So it was quite a hefty loss, but that doesn't happen super often, because usually we are, like, pretty good at not buying cards that shoot up in value all of a sudden and then are super prone to dropping like crazy.
Yeah, like right now that hoop I just checked, it's like last sold is 900, 710, 900, 870. So it's like probably like $850 to $900 now. So
Yeah, I got you. I think, yeah, thank you for sharing for this one. I think it's quite interesting. That I never expect this from you guys, as Max was laughing just now when you mentioned it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think this also helps us to understand one more things, right? Where we are talking about scalper. So before we enter into the scalper sharing, do you see yourself as a scalper?
I wouldn't say so. I feel like scalping is very much referred to people who buy out stuff that's very limited and, like, drops by release and then resell it. Like, we also resell, don't get me wrong, but we're just not actively going and buying stuff that's, like, super limited in quantity and trying to hoard it or, like, huge markup on it. But I do see it a lot around me. So I don't know how much you know about, like, the New Jersey collecting scene, because I live in New Jersey. It's probably the biggest or the second biggest compared to Cali, maybe, as far as collecting goes and reselling. So, like, I have a pretty funny story. Like, I was at my Target like 3 weeks ago. I wasn't even, like, looking for Pokemon cards. I was just, walking around, and I saw, like, in the Pokemon card section, there was, like, a bunch of people who I knew, and they were all just waiting for the restock. And it was like, I'm not saying that they're necessarily scalping it, but, like, it's just strange, like, going grocery shopping and then seeing a bunch of people I know waiting for Pokemon.
Oh yeah, I did saw that kind of incident in Instagram where I'm not sure what's the set you're looking at, but I'm looking at the prismatic one. So all of them are just waiting in a store and they fight for it and just trying
yeah,
to
people were
yeah,
really,
yeah. Yeah, it's literally just ran over each other, like, just to get the box. That's where I starting to get to know the seriousness of scalping. Eventually I knew people trying to earn, but then that I haven't seen such things that are out of control in order for you to earn the extra, I would say, $100, $200, in order to
Yeah.
scalp the original items. Yeah. So let's say in the scalper driven market now, because I'm not sure about you guys. Do you know, like, the history of the scalping? Because I heard from someone in my community that they share with me, in last time Pokemon is not used to not be like that, right? Because it's just buying, selling, buying, selling. Of course, a little bit higher or lower. It depends on willing buyer, willing seller, right? So they did mention that because many different industries jumping into the Pokemon and causes having this phenomena of having scalping. So in this scalper driven market now, I would say mostly, have you faced any moment where you had to choose between short-term money and long-term value? Yeah.
All right. I'm going to share my scalping story.
Let's go.
So, this card, are you familiar? You know this? Not Pokemon.
Oh
but
yes.
The
I've seen the
Dodger
packaging
Luffy
before.
card.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, this was given out at one game in Los Angeles. And I I thought, there'd be a huge market for this card in Japan, like when it was announced, because it's Dodgers, it's, One Piece, it's exclusive, it's cool. And so I really wanted to go to the game and like pretty much scalp the promos. There's a lot of people there who like don't care about Pokemon or One Piece or trading cards at all. They're just going to the baseball game and they get the free promo. So, I would have loved to go there and just, hold up a sign saying, paying $100, give me your card. But I wasn't in town and Max was also on vacation. So neither of us could go. And so I was like, all right, well, I got to get them somehow. And so I go on eBay as the game's happening and I'm just refreshing. People are posting like pictures of the card, like for sale on eBay, like in the bleachers. Like you can see like the baseball diamond behind them. Like everyone's trying to make their money on the cards, while they're in the bleachers. And so I'm just buying like everything I can, like refreshing on eBay, buying. And it was like $300 to $350 each. And I was just trying to get as many of them as I could because I wasn't there. And I was like, this is going to be like this card's going to go up in value. Like I'm so sure of it. So I'm just going to buy as many as I can. And so I'm refreshing eBay constantly for like an hour, pretty much on my phone, trying to buy anything I can under a certain price. Then, fast forward the next day, the card goes up a little bit to like $400 range. Next morning, same thing. I'm just buying as much as I can. People are posting that they have like 20 of them. So I'm just buying from people who already scalped them at the show or the game. And then the card becomes like $600. And now we get a flood of cancellations in our eBay. We ordered, I think, like 67 of them, and we had how many cancellations? Like 30 cancellations?
At least it was like maybe 15 cancellations in total, but the number of cards that was canceled was like 30 or 40. Yeah, it was a lot.
Whoa.
So
okay.
Those were a lot of those people were people who had scalped them at the game and they got their 4 or 5 of them. And then, I heard like every excuse in the book, like, oh, I accidentally bent the card. Oh, my kid accidentally opened it. Oh, I got robbed. Someone broke into my card. The card's gone. My dog bit the card. Like I heard like a million different excuses.
Okay.
For cancellations. Because the card, was almost worth double what at that point than what they had listed it for. And they were trying to make a quick buck at the time, and then because it was free pretty much if you went to the game. I'm pretty sure tickets to get into the game you could have paid as low as like $40. So yeah, everyone, the scalpers, they really wanted their money, so they canceled, and then they were able to repost it for more money later on. Luckily we still got a good amount of them, and got them graded and hit a couple BGS 10s, lots of PSA 10s, but I don't know. I keep this one as a memory. So, and I have some Shohei Ohtani cards as well, so it goes with my Shohei collection.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the scalper experience. So
That's crazy. Yeah.
Other than that, we don't like to get like we don't like to buy into a lot of this like hype stuff, especially since like we don't deal in sealed almost at all. Like the limitation of our sealed is like sometimes, if we have to buy a collection and someone wants to, sell us a few like vintage boxes, not vintage boxes, but like maybe one vintage box, like a few packs, like we'll gladly take them if that's the difference between buying the collection or not buying the collection. But in general, like we're not going and like botting Walmart to get like prismatic elite trainer boxes. Like we don't even carry any prismatic evolutions. The only sealed we've ever had was for when we used to run a stream a while ago, and all of that was just bought secondhand through other people who either scalped it or got it from distributors.
I see. Okay, so I think it's quite crazy. I think this is the first time ever I heard of these kind of stories. Like, people just cancel all the selling on the eBay is crazy. Then do you think, in your own perspective, your own opinions, right? Both of you have your own one, right? Do you think the scalper environment has causes humanity, losing their humanity over Pokemon cards?
It's a tough question. I would say relatively, but a lot of the truth is that a lot of these scalpers are not like, some of them yes, but a lot of them were not here during like they never really collected. Like I know people, even like my personal friends, who are telling me like, yo, like I just got access to like this bot and I can like get so much product, you know, through Walmart and like Best Buy through these restocks. And it's like it kind of shows me that a lot of the people that are like selling this are not really, they don't know anything about Pokemon necessarily. They just know how to scalp inventory, which is like, it doesn't necessarily, like, they don't really care. Like, to them it doesn't really matter. It just makes it harder for the average collector because all the prices go up. So like it's kind of a tough question to answer because, you know, you have two sides of this interaction.
Yeah, I mean, so I would say this is really nothing new. Obviously, there's more people involved, so people hear more about it, and maybe, you know, there's just a lot more news, I guess. But like during COVID, it was pretty much the same. Like I don't know what kind of like big box stores you guys have in Malaysia if they carry Pokemon, but like we have like Walmart and Target, you know, in the US, which are not like, you know, card stores, you know, they just sell everything, but that'd be where most people get their packs and stuff from. And during COVID and stuff, like you couldn't find Vivid Voltage, Champions Path like on the shelves. Like those, it was the same thing. And so, you know, a lot of people forget like this is not really something new. Like I've seen this exact thing before. Like I remember going into a card store and these guys just brought in like a wagon full of like Champions Path ETBs, and they were trying to make like $15 each on them, like to resell them to the card shop. I was just like, dude, like what is this? You know? Um and so I'd say like it's not really anything new, and people are maybe getting more sophisticated with it. I mean, the rip and ship thing is a little bigger now, so there's a lot more demand for product, maybe. I don't think the rip and shippers are really causing like the scalping, but I'd say like overall, you know, there's a lot more people wanting to rip product, and so maybe it's a bit bigger than COVID, but it's pretty much the same thing. So it is what it is, I guess.
I get you. So I think another side question that pops out in my mind, as me, why I started venture into, I will not say business because I do auctions. I have a WhatsApp community, so people consign their item to me. It can be car, seal, or any slabs, and I auction it on the WhatsApp group. So usually they can get the card with prices of 80% to 100%, but sometimes it's over the price because of the cut they really wanted. Um, you know, the reason why I'm doing this, actually, I have a similar goal like you guys to make sure the cut is affordable for the collectors. That's where I start to face the environments of, I wouldn't say it's scalping, but I would say mostly a reseller. So I do face something like, you know, the moment they auction, they get a card, then immediately, like 1 minute later, they just post on the Facebook and sell it. It's the same code number. Yeah, they don't even care to hide it. So
Yeah.
I don't know how it to feel that time. My first time when I see this, in my mind I was like, hey, I thought it was your, you know, it's something that you like. I didn't know that you're gonna like do that. That's where my people tell me is like, this is a reality, right? So, you know, another question that popped in my mind, because the reason I'm started this, I'm inspired by Coop Collection as well. If you know him, the guy who will give free cards to the kids and everything. Then I think that's also show the symbol of Pokemon value and community. Then my question to you is that how do you maintain, you know, help giving happiness to people as well as making yourself not to give up in terms of all these things are moving around. And the third thing is, you know, you need to earn, you need to survive. Like, is it your way of doing things continue to remain the same, or do you have more plans of facing all these things in one time?
So we definitely deal in a little bit of a different space, I would say, as far as comparing us to like influencers. Like, you know, I see these people like all over Instagram, like Coop's Collection, Beard and Dad cards, I think. they're great and they're doing amazing stuff. But for us, a little different because like we're not necessarily in like we do post content, but we also like don't do shows a lot. And a lot of the times, like we don't have the same like we don't have much cheap inventory, relatively speaking. Like we have a very limited selection of like stuff under $100. So that being said, like when kids especially come to our booth, like I try and my bet like we at this point we've started bringing cards to like give away, like nothing crazy, but we just know like we can't when people like ask for trade up and trade up challenge and stuff, like we can't really provide anything because like the cheapest card in the display will be like $100, like $120. So oftentimes like it's hard for us to do that kind of stuff, but like we're always willing, especially at shows, we're always willing to like, you know, try and make things work with people to, you know, get the card that they want. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we usually I'd say we kind of have our, you know, business model down where we just post the cards for sale and then people fight over it, try to get to them first. But we do this. We used to do it a little more. Now it's really hard because like we haven't been grading as many cards that we have good margin on. But we used to like do like a random drop of a card that we had like a large quantity of that we had like a good amount of margin on. So like let's say the card market price is like $200. We'd list up like, you know, 10 available copies for like $150, like a severe like very low discount, and we'd limit it to one per person, so like people couldn't really scalp it. And so that was kind of our way to help, you know, people get a good deal, and it gets us like new customers, you know, like maybe someone who had never bought it from us before will buy that, and then, you know, they'll feel comfortable and they'll buy more in the future. So that's kind of why limiting it to one per person, you know, helps get like our products. I mean, obviously we don't make them, it's just Pokemon cards, but like we're able to do business with like 10 different people and, you know, give them something that they'll be really happy about because they're getting like a super good cheap deal on the card. So maybe we'll try to do some again, but it's just really hard right now because everything is just selling so quickly, and you know, yeah, I don't know what we would do it with. Maybe like Korean Dittos or something we could do it with next time because we have really a lot of those promos. But yeah, I'd say that's like the one different thing that we do.
It's especially tough now. Like we can't buy like we usually when we used to drop cards, like we put them lower than even what we buy them for usually. So it's like we have to like those are usually the cards we would only drop cards that we grade in like large quantity, and you know they go up a little bit or they all grade very well, so we have a lot of 10s, like Grant said. But generally it's really difficult to do it right now because buying cards that are gradable is incredibly difficult now, and if you do manage to get them, like it's really tough to like have that extra, like we don't have nearly as much margin as we used to on that kind of stuff.
I hear you. So okay, I think this will be not to say the last question, but you know, regarding your side, like are you still managed to survive or are you still making money in your current tough situation? Because the reason I'm asking this, because I think it's important for Malaysian to know, because some people, they want to venture in the business, but they might not see what is coming because all they see is the good stuff in the media, like, hey, 70, whoa. But they couldn't see what behind the scenes, right? Like you mentioned, that I was amazed to listen as well. So yeah, what will be your condition?
So maybe it's I manage a lot of the back end stuff, like a lot of the, you know, finances of the company. So for me, it all boils down at the end of the day to like as far as survival goes, like how fast are we selling cards? Is our margin okay enough? And like I'm not afraid of taking losses, and that's like one of the biggest lessons I've learned throughout this entire business is there are way too many people that are scared of losing money. But like at some point, it's better to cut your losses and just have that money to buy more cards. So right now, I mean, we're surviving okay. So even though our margin may seem small to some people, the fact that you can turn it around a lot more, like, it's the compounding, like the money compounds on itself. So, you may make a lot more if you just flip the same amount of money for 5% over and over, as opposed to doing one big flip of, like, I don't know, 50%, but it takes like 4 months to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though, like we say, we're operating on a tight margin, luckily, like, we sell a lot of volume, so we're definitely surviving. The business is actually doing really well. I think, like, everybody right now, especially, like, if you're selling cards or if you owned cards before, like, a few months ago, you should be, like, doing pretty well, just because of kind of how hot everything is and how many cards just spiked in value.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say, like, the last 2 months for us have been by far, like, not even remotely close, like, the best 2 months we've ever had, like, in this business. Which is, even though it's more competitive, like, like I said, we have to buy at, like, higher rates and stuff. Like, yeah, that's true, but we're also selling a lot more. So because of that, like, the last 2 months have been by far, very, very strong for us. And so that's why I'd say I think, like, everybody can make money in, like, a little different way, in the space, whether you're buying singles and selling them at shows, or you're buying, like, mint cards to grade and profit, or you're just middlemaning, like, you don't even buy cards yourself, you just help connect people and take a fee.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different ways to operate and make money, and so I think, at least to me, it would make sense that I think a lot of people are probably doing really well, at least the last few months.
Yeah, I think the things that you guys mentioned that shows me one thing, that you guys have really good patience, I would say. So in Pokemon space, many people are, I would say, especially Pokemon shops, they tend to make money, like, I don't know, their mind, they're having 1 month to 2 month period. But in your case, you have maybe 4 months or 5 months, 6 months. So are you guys prefer going slow pace earning instead of fast pace? I've seen someone who trying to earn, let's say, having the capital of 20K, and they're trying to earn up to 100K in 1 year, just in 1 year. So do you think that is a realistic goal?
I would say so. I don't think anything is out of the question. I wouldn't mix up the fact that just because we're running on smaller margin does not mean we're expanding, like, at a very fast rate. And I mean, I started this business. I would say capital is the number one challenge for a lot of people, especially. I mean, I hear you have people maxing out credit cards, taking out loans, doing all this to buy cards. And I'm not saying that it's a good or a bad thing. That's, each person's situation is completely different. But for example, this company was started with literally, like, few $100s in capital in 2020. And I worked my summers at, like, Party City and other, like, retail locations just to get a little bit of money so I could start doing it on a larger scale. But even to this day, we're seeing, like, having capital is even a limiting factor for us. So it's all, like, it's very difficult to I understand why it's difficult for a lot of people to expand.
Yeah, so our sales from last year compared to this year, last year was, I guess, like, the first year that we operated together as a business, like, the first full year pretty much, and we're gonna more than double what we did last year, which, from, like, our the total volume, I guess, doubling is pretty good, especially when you look at profit. If you can streamline a few things, you can, even if you're doubling your sales, like, you can hopefully increase your margin a little bit. And so, yeah, I would say, like, 5x in a year. I think when it's small, it's really easy to compound, and then as you get bigger, like, it's really hard to, especially too. So here's the big thing, actually, which is, I guess, something that we've been talking about for a while, is like the business is just us. It's just me and Max. And so, like, you know, for example, like he just started school again this semester. He's in university, right? So now that he's in university, there's a lot of things that maybe would have got done that like are going to take longer to do, or because, you know, he has to balance his time between like the business and school. And so I think for us, doubling in a year was really good considering we didn't hire anybody, any employees. And I think like once you get to beyond like a certain amount of sales to scale more, you definitely would need to have employees. Because I think we both stretch ourselves pretty thin a lot of the time, at least the last couple of months, just because the market's been so hot that, you know, we're trying our best to, you know, sell as many cards as possible. But I think for future like compounding, to get past like the point we're at now, which is good. It's just like if we're gonna double next year from where we are now, like we would definitely need to bring on employees or something.
Yeah, I think I would say, especially for you too, I would say your age is incredibly inspiring for Malaysian because many of the Malaysians, I cannot say on behalf of them, but at least in my perspective, like many of us, like we don't even dare to start business until something safe or until we get older, right? So you know, it's inspiring enough to see that in your age you're able to start this business. You know, in the futures of, you know, you're able to forecast the finance, the growth, and even you can even hire a employee while you're studying, and that is pretty, it's pretty impressive, I'll say. So if I was to ask, if for the case in Malaysia, right, I would say Malaysia, even the currency is different, right? In your case, I'm not sure. Like, if let's say I'm talking about gold star, right? Let's say a gold star suicune. All right, let's go for that. Like, you know, getting the gold star suicune in Western country is pretty much easier. You just get a part-time job or full-time job. I think in 2 weeks, 3 weeks time you can get one. But for us, I would say at least, let's say deduct the commitment, right, in life. I need to say at least 3 to 4 months to get a gold suicune. I'm talking about raw, right? I'm not talking about slab. So my another question to you is that, you know, now we are giving value to the Malaysians more in terms of, you know, directly talking about the real case study. So for someone in Malaysia that willing to starting with a small capital, I would say, let's say 5,000 ringgit, right? Okay, 5,000 ringgit. I think it's a four time lower of your currency. Yeah,
$1,200 probably around there, like
yeah, around that.
1,200, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the first step to grow? Not very fast, not earning, but able to grow sustainably. Like able to sustain yourself throughout the way.
So I'd say one thing that kind of maybe that I would do that I can do that is a little harder for you guys would be like I would grade cards to profit, but like obviously PSA is pretty hard for you guys to access, right? You probably have to go through Japan most of the time, or some middleman or whatever, and it takes a long time. For me, it's really easy. I just, you know, mail to California and I get it back whenever. I think grading cards has the highest profit margin overall. So that's probably where I would start. But if I couldn't, maybe I don't know. Max, what do you think?
So I will say one thing, and I think it's something that a lot of people don't think about, and it's something that I did as well. I think that a lot of the value is not just in the cards, but in the skill set you have. So, for example, people who know the market, I'm very like, there's so many people who do this with us now, and it's something that I used to do when I was a lot smaller. You just find, you know, it can be so many things. You know, I used to help people inventory and price everything for, you know, some just like a little bit of extra income and a little more capital. I used to help find deals for other people. I used to middleman, like all these things. They're small, but like they build on each other, and like people will value your skill set. And especially like people who know the market, like I will gladly pay someone, you know, if they can get these things done for me that I can't do myself or don't have the time to do myself, like I'm willing to pay for it. So if it makes sense, then like, you know, it's an extra opportunity that a lot of people don't think about, because like Grant said earlier, there's so many ways to operate in this industry, and like it doesn't have to be as straightforward as just selling cards.
I see, I see. So you're just having more different way to make the money first until you think you have the save money capital to kickstart your way. Because I think throughout helping people be the middleman or whatever it is, you're also able to learn how people do their business as well, right? On the card itself. I see. Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, okay. I think, yep.
Yeah, like having a network in general is just going to be really valuable. Like regardless of that goes for like I guess all things in life, not even just Pokemon cards, but once you have a network of people, maybe like you see that someone wants to buy a card on like Facebook or whatever, and then you're like that like this guy that or whatever has one, right? So you can just like connect them and make your like $50 or whatever. And like over time, like all those connections can help you just for like sourcing product, and then also just knowing people is useful. That's kind of a big reason why that our business was able to grow, was just knowing a lot of people, and eventually some connections, someone can refer like a huge collection to you or something. You never really know. That's why it's like it's really good to just talk to a lot of people, I think, and meet people who are operating in the same space, because you might learn something, or you might make a friend or business opportunity, whatever.
I get you. I get you. So now another question is that many people, I would say not just in Malaysia, but I think the whole world, they have the similar concept, as in I buy a card, I borrow a card, I don't care it's slab or raw or sealed product, and I will just hold it. Right, it don't matter time, 6 months, 1 year, or 10 years, or 20, or even leave it to their next generation. I do see people like that. They are the father. Then they have a bunch of inventory.
This is my hold play, and
Oh,
I just so I just actually sold these today. So
yeah,
this
I saw it.
I thought this was a really good thing to hold on to because it was pretty cheap. Like it was a very limited UPC, and it's Mew, and it's cool. So I bought a lot of them, like several hundred of them, when they were $20. And this was like a personal thing that I did, like outside of like the Daisuki business. I kind of did it just on my own with like extra money that I had, because like if you have some cash sitting around and like you want to invest it, like for me, I guess I invested in something that I really knew a lot about. I'm not saying everyone should put all their money into Pokemon cards, but like at the time I was like, I have some extra money, like I'll buy these, and they can sit because we're really busy like with the day-to-day managing like our current inventory. So I'm like, I'll just set some aside that I can just like let appreciate over time, and it's like no work. So these were like $20. And like I bought them a bit cheaper. I think like the lowest I started buying them was like $16. And now they're $130 each. So like I just sold, this is 100 of them in here. So I just sold like all this in one go to one person today, and that was like over a year's time. So that was pretty good rate of return, I would say. And so I don't do this all the time. I just thought, it was maybe a good idea, and it paid off. But yeah, I don't know. That's my one example, I guess, of holding something, working out.
I'm really the opposite. I hate holding things. Like I never hold cards for the most part.
Okay.
That being said, I don't have a lot of like Pokemon assets outside of the business. I have maybe like I just have a few cards that I like, and I don't plan to sell them. Those are my collection. But outside of that, like the only time we ever hold anything is if it's like by accident or we're too lazy to sell it. So like I'll give you a great example. Like we had a connection in Japan, and I really wanted him to know that like we're serious about doing future business. So I bought like 200 or 300 shiny treasure boxes at like $20, like $25, like incredibly cheap. I mean, nobody wanted them. They were considered the worst high class set in existence. Nobody liked the full art shinies or the baby shinies.
And there's Bubble Mew in there. Can you believe that? That's crazy.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
until recently, nobody wanted it. So we held it for roughly a year, I want to say. And by the time we sold it, they more than doubled in price from where we bought it. But that was more just like I bought it only to, build that connection. And obviously we don't sell sealed for the most part. So we had nothing to do with it. And then eventually we just all sold it in one shot. But generally in the business, we don't hold anything. And that's just because I prefer a more like risk averse approach to the business, where I think that if we sell stuff quickly, there is no risk in it going up or down. And I know lately it's been up a lot, but a lot of people haven't stayed long or have not been in this industry or this field long enough to see the downturns. Like last summer was pretty brutal, actually. Like that's when we first started auctioning cards on like a large scale. And I mean, every week would just be dropping prices by 20-30%. So it's like, you had Crystal Poe going for like $1,600. Like cards that are now like 10 grand were like, $1.5 grand, $2 grand. Like, I mean, it was super tough to work through it. It was hard to sell inventory. Stuff just wouldn't move. And that's like, that always sits in the back of my mind that like that could happen again. So for me, I personally don't like to hold things. I would rather just sell them quickly and move on to the next thing to avoid like, exposure to losses.
I see. Okay. Then, so now we have two different sides. I think it's quite valuable because we don't give direct answer because it really depends on the situations, right? Like in your case, there's some loss, but in Greg's case, there's some earning. So, is there I would say a benchmark or a safety net, a line for people who want to hold to a certain card or products that, like what kind of research or knowledge they need to have? Let's say if they really want to hold or something.
So, I mean, an example is like with Sealed, right? Like Sealed has a track record of being like the most reliable, I guess, long-term investment, like in the space. Generally something that came out last year is worth more than when it dropped, and it usually will never be worth less.
Mm-hmm.
It happens in the short term, like with the shiny treasures. I mean, those were $26. Like people in Japan like couldn't sell it for MSRP. But like with this Mew, it was $18, and like, well, like I guess 18 to 100, like it doesn't sound, that insane, but like if you do it in volume, like, there's 100 of them here, that's really pretty solid, right? So I would just try to look for things that like there's not really much room for them to drop, like graded cards, in high volume, or like like I don't know, like last summer, for example, like Mimikyu Gengar tag team or whatever, weren't we selling those for like $300 or something, like 360?
Yeah,
those are like $360, and now they're like $1,100, $1,200, something like that.
1,500, yeah.
1,500. But that card, like, it was hard for us to sell them at that price point because I mean, raw, I think we were getting them for like $180 probably or something. So if you look at like the raw price to the graded premium, like it could have gone down maybe. I don't really know. It's just like at $18 from like a really exclusive UPC that at the time was like already gone up to like a really expensive price. To me, it just seemed like there wasn't really much room for the card to drop. I'm finding like less and less, examples of this that I think like work, besides just buying like sealed products for MSRP. Like if you can buy like prismatic at like MSRP, like, and put that away, that could be really valuable in the future. But I don't know if there's really any promos like or anything that makes sense right now. Like those here's an interesting one, is like those Pokemon Center Japan boxes that got announced, the Fukuoka Hiroshima, and I think Tohoku.
Yep.
Those 3 boxes, those look super cool, and like I was super excited about them. And MSRP on that box is like 2,000 yen, which is like $13. So what is that, like 50 ringgit?
$13 to, I think on our side is like
$13 is like probably what, 55 ringgit or something.
time 4.2 or 4.5 is like around 70 to 90 within the range. Yeah.
I see. No,
Mhm.
13, 113.
Yeah, 1.3. So you time 4, so it's around, I would say roughly 60.
I see. Yeah.
The minimum I think 60. Yeah.
So like that's like the MSRP for the box, and people are already pre-selling it for like $120.
Cool.
So like I wouldn't want to buy in at that $120 point, but like if I was able to get them for retail in Japan, I would have stashed away hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those if I could. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Everything is just expensive right now. Like everything's getting scalped, so a lot of the time your best margin is just going to be when you can find stuff at the normal price.
So can I conclude this in one way, is that try not to put too much hope or rely too much on holding stuff in order for you to gain something for your business. But at the same time, also can leave some space for you to holding stuff, like how Grant do it. Like when you do your business, while Max is moving fast paced, right? Like keep on the next one. While if you have the capability and space, you can just put something to hold. And while holding the stuff, try to find something that the value wouldn't have much space to drop as well. So that's where you also need to rely on the research and also your own feelings of the arts, right? Something like that. Can I conclude in this way?
Yeah, I think you could probably like compare things to certain examples, I guess, of like cards in the past. Like maybe that prismatic UPC EV promo is like a good buy. I don't know what it even sells for right now, but like the fruit EV in English, maybe that one you can like put away sealed. I have no idea what it's selling for right now, but that to me is like very similar to this in terms of release and everything, right? So there's things that you can kind of try to compare to, and computate like is this likely to double? I know there's someone said that one time. I think it was a Pokey, and he said this once. It was like try to look at something like what's more likely to double, like at a given price, like this or this. Like if you're buying, let's say Poncho Pikachu, right? At like Poncho Rayquaza at like $8,000. Can you spend $8,000 in a better way, like where it's more likely to double? Probably, right? Like I don't think Poncho Pikachu Rayquaza is going to be $16,000 next year. If it is, then we're all like going crazy, right?
Yeah, man. Right.
So I would say like, well, there's definitely better things that you could buy that are more likely to increase in price. Like I don't know what those would be. Maybe some more slept on promo cards or whatever. But I would just kind of look at it that way, like how much more can this go, and is it likely that it could double in price in a year? It's like a pretty good threshold, I guess. That's not even my own thinking. That was someone else who said that, but it makes sense. So
it's just a very controversial time now to put stuff away. Like nothing is cheap anymore, and it seems very like a lot of things seem unrealistic to double in price. And I could be wrong. I mean, like we see like a lot of the cards, it just happens artificially too. I mean, you have like the Seismitoad art rare, like that card. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's just an art rare card, and it's like $3,000 in PSA 10. Like a lot of things are just everything is getting shot up in price absurdly and dropping fast for like no reason right now, and it makes it really hard to put stuff away.
This was another one I bought a lot of. This Lucario. This is like Crown Zenith ETB promo, and this was literally like $2 sealed on TCG Player. And I'm like, dude, this is like, it's a textured card. It's a popular Pokemon. It looks like he's like going Super Saiyan.
Yep.
I just don't know if this card is really gonna be less than $2. Like it was literally like you could buy infinite copies for like $2 plus shipping or whatever on TCG Player. And so I was just like, sure, man, I'll buy those. And, $2 is not really a great investment, but you buy, a lot of them, and, that can be kind of the way. Um, so I don't know. Like, I like the smaller cards that you can buy in like a large quantity, maybe, as opposed to one card that you're banking on your life savings. Like, I don't know. I keep telling people, like, if you're buying ponchos for your kid's college fund, then maybe it's not a good idea. I don't know. Maybe your kid is not going to go to college. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I got you on this one. Yeah, I think that Lucario is actually booming in Malaysia. I think around last 2 months. I don't know. It's out of nowhere. There's an outrage of many collectors are selling all this Lucario, like I would say 50 quantity in one post. But out of that, 30 to 40 ringgit. I'm not sure what causes that. That's why when you put out a card, I'm like, oh, that comes in my mind. Now you see, there's we share a very valuable insight of doing all these things. So when it comes to buying card or being intervention in business, do you see any common mistake that a new seller makes or collector, like how they can even avoid the mistake they are making if you see some of it?
I would go ahead.
I would say, like, if there's a lot of people talking about it, it's really hard to buy things when, like, you're buying in the hype point. And sometimes, when people are talking about it, it could still be on the way up. Like, it's not at the peak, and like you could be hearing about it here, right? But then you buy it and like you go to the peak, but maybe you want to keep holding it and then it's going back down or whatever. But I would say to just kind of think for yourself. Obviously I'm here offering advice, so like, maybe that's like counterintuitive, but I'd say people are talking about a lot of things. Like, one of the craziest ones was Fusion Strike as a booster box. When the Fusion Strike first went up and became like, $600, everyone was like, dude, what is this? Like, no one wanted Fusion Strike at all when it was, $300, when it was $200. You could buy it at MSRP on Pokemon Center for like 2 years after it came out, and no one wanted it. But now all of a sudden everyone wants Fusion Strike. Everyone's like, yo, sell me Fusion Strike when it's like $600, right? And since it's a sealed item, like, it's continued to go up, I'd say. But if like Fusion Strike was Pokemon was like a slab, like trying to use the same comparison, you can get kind of burnt on those things. Like that Hoopa card, for example. When it was $200, like, no one cared, and then for a short period of time, everyone's like, oh my god, Hoopa, oh my god, invest, stonks, like, and then a lot of people got burnt, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. I like to kind of not follow the noise and kind of think for myself using like a few fundamentals, I guess.
Is there any fundamental step you can share? Like, at least there's some, I don't know, some principle or SOP that you can follow when it comes to judging. Should I go into this or should I go into that?
Max, do you have any fundamentals you want to share?
I would say one of the things that I personally do is when I'm looking up how much to offer on a card, you don't just want, a lot of people just look at only the last comp, only the most, like, only like the first latest sale or like the top 3 latest sales, and that's it. I mean, depending on how often a card sells, of course, there's a lot of things to really consider. I mean, you want to take a look at like how much the price jumped, like how frequently does this card sell? How, relatively speaking, how big of a jump is it? And how much is like the last auction versus the latest, and like what's the time frame? So, if a card is auctioning maybe June for $2,000 and then August for $4,000, that's like, it's possible that the card just went up to $4,000. Like, I wouldn't really be too surprised about that. But if a card is auctioning, August 15th for $2,500 and then auctioning 3 days later for $5,000, I mean, that's very unlikely. And it's really like a pretty bad sign of like, this card is pretty dangerous to touch. So whenever we take in those cards, we always have to, account for that, and either it's a lower valuation or a lower buyback percentage or both. Because that's just the things you have to do to avoid being burned. And a lot of people do understand. They understand that the card jumped very fast, or that, something unusual is happening with the card, and they're understanding, and, because they are willing to sell at like a slightly lower percentage. But the other thing that I would say I've noticed a lot happening, especially with how many new people are entering the market, is seeing a lot of people don't really care and value reputation as much as they should, in my opinion. I mean, I know this isn't one of the other questions, but I would say like the biggest difference between short-term and long-term success is your reputation and how people view you. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a reputation, I mean, people are just not going to buy from you. Or if you have a poor reputation, people are not going to want to do business with you. And that being said, we've had a few people that have either done some kind of poor business with us or disrespected us or something of that sort, and we no longer just do business with them at all. And that really burns people. Like, burning connections is something that can be real. Like, people don't see it, how important it is, because it's not something that's valued in dollars necessarily. But I mean, of course it can bring you more dollars, but you don't value a relationship by dollars, right? So it's harder for people to see that, especially like the people who are new and just care about I need to buy this card and sell for more. They don't really think about it too long term necessarily. I'm just saying this is like one of the common mistakes I see with a lot of new people entering.
Actually, I wish to delve deep into that. I can share my story later. I wish to ask you more about this so that people can learn from more. When you talk about reputations, I think there's few actions that people do that burn down their reputation. That maybe I want to come to a more serious topic. Like, have you ever got scammed, or have you seen scam in Pokemon? If yes and no, I would say yes or no. How would you deal with it? Like, let's say you scam in a scamming perspective.
Well, so a lot of the like cards that we buy, we post a buy list and then people ship them to us. And so, as kind of a countermeasure to getting scammed, the payment methods that we offer people is either PayPal goods and service, like upfront, or if they want to send it to us, then we'll pay them on delivery. And luckily, since we have a pretty long-standing reputation where people feel comfortable, sending us the cards, knowing that they're going to get paid. But we've had issues where people pick the goods and service option and they just don't ship the cards. Like, I remember this one guy, like his username was like Emilio NYC or something. Like, it didn't look like a Pokemon page at all. But he's like, I got these cards. You want to buy them? I'm like, sure, bro. He's like, okay, goods and service, fine. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. We didn't think anything of it for a while, and then like someone posted on their story like, yo, this guy's a scammer. Like, he never shipped the cards. And then we were like, wait a second. I think that guy sold us cards too that we never got. And then sure enough, like, yeah, the cards were just never shipped. So at that point, we just had to file a, dispute with PayPal, and we won. But when you file a lot of disputes with PayPal, they might not want to keep you on their platform because you're high risk, for whatever reason. Either you're scamming people or you're getting scammed a lot and they don't want to keep having to pay out of pocket. So they'll kick you off, which has been an issue as well. But I think we've been pretty fortunate to not have been scammed. You can talk about buying on Mercari. That's a good scam. Buying on Mercari and stuff.
I have two stories I want to cover. Well, not stories, but I guess things we did in the past. So the first one was, we haven't really encountered many scam attempts in a while, besides the occasional people not wanting to ship or people shipping slightly damaged cards, whether that's intentional or not intentional. But the first thing I will go over is I won't name them, but there's a shop in Japan that sold us numerous cards with ink on the back. So they either they ink, like, put the mark on the card to hide the whitening, or they bought it and then resold it without, checking it. And obviously it's very tedious when we're buying, we're there for a day, maybe a few hours, sifting through
Looking at, like, hundreds of cards. Yeah.
We
Whoa.
can't inspect every single card for, we just trust the store that they, we give them the benefit of the doubt, assuming that if something happens, they'll own up to their actions. And we contacted them after we bought it. And this is a store that we had a pretty long-standing relationship with, actually. And we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars there. And we're like, hey, listen, I understand this may have been a mistake, but, we had like 3 or 4 cards in your last batch, which was a pretty high percentage, actually, that have these alterations to them. And, we can't sell these cards. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And I'm like, okay, so how do you want to deal with this? And they're like, won't happen again. And we're like, well, these weren't really cheap cards either. I mean, we probably spent on these 4 cards, like, I want to say a combined total of like $1,500 to $2,000, maybe a little more. So it's kind of a rough loss to take. Just yeah, but that was one of the experiences we had. The other one was so I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Mercari Japan platform. That's basically their eBay that they use. And there's a lot of raw cards that get posted there. And as time has gone on, a lot of sellers realize on Mercari that a lot of the people buying their cards are US consumers or other country consumers, maybe Malaysia, Singapore, that are shipping to proxy services, as I mentioned previously, and then exporting them. But the thing is that proxy services are really bad at taking responsibility for anything or checking the products over, because, they import everything. It's not just Pokemon cards. Like, they don't know what Pokemon cards are supposed to look like. They don't know, what.
Yeah.
Right. So, there have been so many days, because we used to buy back like a year or 2 ago, we used to purchase so much stuff from Yahoo auctions, Mercari, stuff like that. We would just open packages and get cards that were blatantly switched out for other cards, or we would get, one time we got a fake slab. So that kind of stuff does happen. And unfortunately, the proxy services don't like to take ownership, even if you pay for their protection plan. So what has to happen a lot of the times is you have to dispute it through a credit card, which then gets you banned off the platform.
Yeah. So solution is to not use those services anymore and to have a real middleman in Japan who actually does Pokemon cards, so they can verify that it's real. And this is like really obvious too. Like, it's not like it got damaged in transit. Like, you can like look at the holo patterns and you can see that it was like a different card. So a lot of people on these accounts, like, they have this like listing of like a nice card. Like, the card looks really clean in the photos, and then they'll just keep up the listing. If like an actual Japanese person purchases the card, they'll cancel it. And then they'll just keep waiting until like a US, like a proxy service, because they can see the address that it's shipping to. Like, it's obviously like a warehouse that's getting sent exported. They'll wait until one of those people buys it, and then they can ship them like a really damaged version of the card, like that doesn't look anything like the PSA 10 contender that you're looking at in the pictures. And then they're able to, basically repeat the scam, like specifically targeting those buyers.
Right. So now the story you have is mostly B2C. That maybe now we are trying to go to B2B, business to business. Like, it's quite interesting as well. I also want to ask as well, how do you choose business partner? Right. I think both of you are the business partner, and I also interested to know how you guys came along, to be a partner for this, and what is the requirements or something you look out for when you're choosing someone to be a partner in Pokemon space?
So, Grant and I have we're pretty opposite in a lot of ways. And I think that's one of the reasons that we work so well together. For example, as much as I value connections and talking with people, I'm very shy. And I'm not great at talking to people. That's just not one of my skill sets. I'm good at doing back-end work. I'm good at, taking a look at the finances and analyzing how we're doing and what needs to be changed. But talking to people and understanding social media and how to manage that. And that's like what he's good at. So we knew each other for quite a while before we worked together, but one of our mutual friends suggested, he's like, hey, you guys should work together. I think like it would work really, really well. So that's how we began working together. But as far as picking other business partners, I would just say to just like, you want someone who treats everyone with respect and who's fair to everybody in general, but you also want someone who understands like that it needs to work for both parties. You know, it can't be a one-way street as far as having a partnership. So, you know, we've really been fortunate to find a lot of people who are willing, you know, to help us go the extra mile a lot of the times, and we're more than happy to help them whenever they need help. And that's like the biggest quality, I would say, because there's a lot of people that I used to deal with that, for example, you know, I'd love to help them out, but when it came turn to, you know, I need a favor, or I would, you know, can you give me like a few extra bucks off this just to, you know, make this work? You know, it's impossible.
Yeah. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with like having the value of a network. Like, so Max and I are business partners, right? But then there's like a lot of other people, like other businesses that, you know, will kind of like work with, not like a real partnership, obviously, but like, you know, sometimes if there's like a unique lot of cards or something, we'll like split it. So it's like our business owns like half of the cards, and, you know, their business owns half of the cards, and we'll work together to sell it, and then we'll split up the profits or whatever. And, you know, sometimes it's really good when like someone finds a deal but they realize maybe they don't have the right like clientele to buy those specific cards. Like an example is like these Pokemon Art Academy cards. One of my friends, we worked with him and pretty much split ownership of like a bunch of them, because he was really knowledgeable and like in the art academies, and I got kind of presented with an opportunity to, you know, help pretty much sell off this like entire art academy collection. So, you know, we worked with him to do it, and, you know, we were able to sell them like pretty quickly, and, you know, we made good money doing it, and it was, you know, nice to work together to sell them. But I'd say the big thing is that like finding a partner is hard when like you have like similar skill sets, because the advantage to having a partner is to like pretty much get things done that like you couldn't do on your own. So like that is kind of why Max and I are like so good together, is because we bring like different skill sets. Like, I don't know, like financials and stuff, I'm super lazy with like keeping sheets and everything, right? So, you know, like when I was running like my card business on my own, like I didn't really care. I was just like buying stuff, selling stuff. Like, think I made money here. You know, I don't know what I paid on this, but it's probably fine to sell it for that price. You know, whatever. Pretty sloppy. But then, you know, there's other kind of skills that maybe that I have that, you know, Max didn't, and so together we kind of filled in the gaps. Like I don't force like having a partner. Like, I think if you just go out there saying like, hey, looking for a business partner, like you probably will find somebody that's like, it's not going to work in the long term. But that's probably the biggest thing, is like filling in the gaps. Not necessarily like, a lot of people I think have the idea like if you think the same way, like it works, but a lot of times it like won't work because you might not see as much like progression.
It's always great. Yeah, it's always great to have like a second different perspective on something. Like a lot of the times, like I mean, more so Grant does this to me more than I do with him, but I'll get super tunnel visioned about something really quickly and be like, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. And he'll just be there to keep me in check and be like, you know, this is stupid. Like, you know, this is like a waste of capital, or, you know, this is a terrible idea. And like sometimes, you know, you really do need that to kind of just step back and be like, you know, is there a better way I can like allocate my time or my energy or my money?
Okay, so yeah, I think time is running up because I think we took almost 1 hour and 35 minutes. Okay, we'll give it short because I think you guys have planned tomorrow. I think a few more important questions because before I ask the next question, I just want to share a little bit my story because
Mhm.
how I venture into auctions, right? It's actually I know a guy that he 40 plus years old, and eventually I got into his scam of doing the business. Now because I know my tricks. I love to create communities. I love to build stuff. Um, I like to connect people and I like to listen stories. So some of them actually share with me like, oh, I buy Pokemon card to release my life stress, right? Because they're facing a lot of life stress in their life, and when they buy Pokemon card, they're able to release the stress. Sometimes when they just stress, they look at their collection and everything. I think that's all the things are beautiful. So eventually, I got into the trap. I couldn't see because in my first time that I'm the middle guy, right? So people consign their item to me because they trust me like a lot. They're willing to consign even their whole inventory to me without asking anything. And to me, that is crazy, right? Because that's a crazy trust to me. But my partner, he did few things because every time I auction out the money, I'll actually pass to him because he know how to handle his money, right? I don't know, right? That's where the difference is. But eventually it comes to a point that he used the money somewhere else. Now I was actually in debt because the people trusted me with their card and everything sold out. The money used somehow, and I knew better that as where they didn't he didn't pay back, or he just trying to drag the timing of paying back the money. So I mean, this is a tremendous crazy thing for me. It almost makes me want to quit Pokemon because I always say I get into depression. Depression because of this one. You know, even I think the most affected one was my girlfriend. She see the big changes in me. Like I always like I don't even know how to happy, that, into the level. My girlfriend just asked me like, is there anything you want to do, want to eat? I said I don't know. I just don't know. I just go to full time job and just work and that's it is. Yeah, I think that's where I start to slowly research and goes around and I see you guys. Then I think, hey, what makes you guys having such a successful journey? Because my auction community is called the journey because I always think Pokemon always teach me about the journey. I don't get in games or in movies, right? They always tell us about the journey. So I think this is also part of my real life story. About preaching the value of the journey in the communities. I think it's quite tough, but there's a turning point. Like what Max say. I was desperate, right? I was asking for people, hey, do you have stuff for me to consign to me to auction, and I just earned a little bit commissions. And I got to know a person, he willing to give me and support me with the finance. But of course, it's almost same like you guys, having different trade. So he'll be behind the scene, he'll just supply me the item and I'll be the auction out. So it's a little bit good turn. All right. Then comes to the next question is that how do you handle conflict? Like what is the biggest conflict you guys have and how you guys overcome it?
Like with each other, or just like as the business. Well,
I would say to each other in business. I think let me assume this. Whenever you guys having personal issues, I surely think that will affect the business as well. Right. When it comes to decision makings, discussions, or whatever it is.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're humans too. So we all, I have my very fair share of bad days. We both do. We both get tired.
Mhm.
Especially this last summer. I mean, we've been working, I don't know, like minimum 60-hour weeks,
Mm,
like at
mm,
the bare
mm.
minimum, which is considerably a lot, especially since, I have to make time to do other stuff too. And I'm sure Grant does as well. He has his own obligations to fill. And it's really visible. There were some late night phone calls where we'd get on and he's like, man, like, I don't want to go to this event. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to go either. Or like, I'm tired. Like, I can't, I need like one day. I need one day to just relax. I would say we're both pretty good at understanding that, you know, mental health, physical health, rest comes first and things in the business can wait.
yeah, I
Mm.
mean, there was like, so this was like about Pokemon Worlds, was like just happened. It was like it was the night before or like the day before I was supposed to fly, and I was supposed to catch some red eye flight at like 4 in the morning to go to California. and I was just like, man, like I've been home, so I travel a lot, like for events. You know, we go to Asia, whatever. So I'm like not home very much, and I was home for like 2 weeks, and I was loving it. I was like so happy to just be relaxing, and the fact that the next day I was gonna have to get up at 4 in the morning to go like fly to California. I just told him like, dude, like I don't want to go. Like I'm sorry, I can't do it. So um, I think Max was probably a little bit upset because he wasn't going. So it was me going, and like I had already booked the plane ticket and we already booked the hotel, and like we weren't gonna get our money back for it. So it was pretty much, a loss. But I was just like, dude, like I really just don't want to do it. Like I'm sorry. I can't. And yeah, so I didn't go. And woke up the next day and not at 4 in the morning, and then Max and I were able to talk to each other, and it was not really a big deal. I think we actually don't really have too many conflicts with each other. One time I sold a card kind of cheap, and then someone came up to our booth like probably 10 minutes later wanting to buy that same card, and like would have paid our full asking price, and Max was like, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest conflicts we had, and it wasn't even that bad. I was just upset over it for a bit, but yeah, we had like 2 cards, super desirable cards, really easy to sell, and I was like, Grant, he was negotiating, so I'm like, Grant, please don't sell these cheap, and he like discounted them a little more than I wanted him to, and then
like
we
one of my
had someone
friends who was buying it, and I was like, we have money on it, like it's fine. But
and then
then
like 10 minutes later after he sold it, someone messaged, it was a 2-card lot, and someone on Instagram messaged saying he'd buy one of the cards for full asking price. And then like another 10 minutes after that, someone else came to the booth saying he'd buy the other card for full asking price. And I was like, oh man, we just sold both of them for cheap.
yeah, so we still talk about this, but I mean it like doesn't really affect us now. Like, it's not like that was actually negative. At the time, maybe it was a bit there's a little bit of tension perhaps, but it's not really that big of a deal in the long term. I think we do surprisingly well for like having not been friends like before we started doing this. Like on these trips in Japan, like we're together for 2 weeks and we're sleeping in the same hotel room every single day, and like we're spending every single waking minute of our days together for these long periods of time. Like when we went to Singapore and in Malaysia for that show, in the summer, we were together for like a whole month, like pretty much like 4 weeks on the road together, like just same room, didn't really have our time to ourselves.
Right.
And we were fine. Like I don't know, we didn't really want to kill each other, which is probably a lot of people I don't think can say that. So
Yeah.
I got you. All right. Now come to the last question, I would say. Like, what message? I mean, both of you have your own way of your own perspective and opinion. Like, what message would you give to a 15 years old Malaysian? It can be collectors, okay? Just a collector, not thinking about business. Like when Max explored Diamond and Pearl, Grand explore Ruby and Sapphire, the kind of feeling. Like, what message will you give to these young kids that what is possible in the journey of Pokemon for him or her? Yeah.
I would say that no goal is too far or too unattainable. In general, I mean, it doesn't apply to just Malaysian collectors or necessarily to people who are 15 years old or younger or older. It's anybody. But we get a lot of people who are like, we wish to be like you guys one day, or we want to be like, we want to have the same impact that you guys do. And like that really means like so much to me, because that was me like, a few years ago. I was also just, a random kid out there who just wanted to buy and sell Pokemon cards, or just wanted to play the game, or just wanted to open packs my whole for my job. So you don't need $1 million to get started. You don't need to be 21 or wait, or you don't need to have this or this before you start. I mean, like, you should just go for it. Like, everyone, I mean, I'm sure you have too, like everyone has came such a long way from just, it's not even a risk, but just you putting in that time, putting in that effort. And the number one thing I would say is just think about how to do things differently. Like there's a million people always doing the same thing. Sometimes if you just make it a little different, you know, that makes all the difference in the long run.
Hear you on that. Grant?
I have probably like it's become a very big cliche. I've been saying it for a while, but now it gets thrown around like all the time. Like literally just collect what you love. You know, like from I don't know if it was just right place, right time for me or whatever, but pretty much all these cards that I bought, you know, a while ago that because I thought they were really cool, you know,
Mhm.
like I was like, this card's awesome, I like it. Like that Squirtle, for example. Um, you know, because like if you like it, someone else probably also likes it. And you know, if there's a lot of people who like it, then eventually it will be worth more in the future, you know. So well, I don't have as big of a collection now as I did. The things that I like always keep are like I have a lot of signed cards.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this one, I actually mailed it in to Sumiyoshi Kazuki, who's my favorite artist pretty much of all time with
Mhm.
Pokemon cards. Um, and you know, I was able to get it signed. It's actually so cool. Like I saw Sumiyoshi Kazuki follow your Instagram, and I was like, huh? Like, is that like actually like the artist? And I clicked on it, and it was. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like insane. So I reached out, and I got Shikishi commissioned, which I can't show it right now because it's somewhere else, but
Mhm.
um, that was really cool. And so since like this one, I got signed by Kuki Saito in Baltimore, and it's crazy actually. This is like 3 years ago now.
Mhm.
And then this one is Himeno as well that I got signed. It's like these autograph cards are like kind of like the big thing that I keep in my PC now. Because I like them, and these ones are personal to me, so like I won't, you know, I plan to keep them. But over time, there was a lot of things that I really liked that I was able to keep for the long term, and then when I decided it was time to go, then you know
Mhm.
they weren't. But like, yeah, this is another one I wanted to show. I like Pichu, specifically the spiky-eared Pichu. So
Mhm.
this is like my favorite one because it looks like it's in like a Studio Ghibli movie, like looks like it's in like Spirited Away or something,
Mhm.
like the
Yep.
art style.
Mm.
Um, and so it's in a black label, which is obviously the best grade that you can get. So there's another one. My friend actually graded this, so it's cool. Um, but yeah, just collect what you like. You know, everyone's journey is gonna be different, I guess. But you know, if you're happy with the result, then that's really all that matters.
Yep.
So,
I got you. Now, thank you for sharing. I think throughout the conversations, I hope you guys enjoy sharing your value, your knowledge, and experience with the people. And I'm pretty sure that the conversation here in the future, when I make it into a short form video, they're able to bless a lot of people, or when they want to listen to the whole conversation, right? So I really hope you know eventually you guys building the values and the community across the business in a healthy way to influence more people, because I think Pokemon is getting bigger. It's not a stranger thing even to the children nowadays. So I think 10 years later you guys gonna be a, I don't know, a dad, a big brother or uncle to the new generation. So we might possibly be the symbol of protecting the business so well that the new collection the new collector just come in anytime without worrying, all sort of, I would say, negative things or dangerous things, right? So yeah, thank you for your time, Max and Grant. And to end the show, I think to make it interesting, right? But Grant make the first move first, because suppose is to show the fun way to close the shows, right? Is that to show our most expensive card at the moment. But that expensive card is not necessary in terms of money, but in terms of value and memory. It can be. So yeah, maybe you can start with Max first. Yeah.
So I have, I guess, three things that I mainly want to showcase.
Mm-hmm.
This is currently, I think, the most expensive cards that we have on hand in inventory. It is the Giovanni and the Rocket promos. And then here, this box has the briefcase that they came in. So this is like all original, box, deck box. I think it's a deck sleeves and coin, as well as cards themselves. Sorry.
We made an Instagram reel where we were trying to get one of those out. This is our second one that we've had since then. But
oh, that's the one.
So,
okay.
yeah,
monetary wise, these are the most expensive cards I think we have at the moment. Besides that, I have 2 cards in my collection that one of them is special to me. Just like Grant has, I also have my signed card here, and this card has been through quite a journey. Where I originally got this card signed at the event with Jimeno, and I ended up selling it to one of my friends because he did a huge favor for me. He's like, "I really want this card. Can you please sell it to me?" And eventually I caved. I was like, I really love this card, but listen, I understand. You did a favor for me, so I'll sell it to you. And eventually he sold it to someone else, and it ended up on auction where I tried to win it and I lost. And then I went on auction again and I lost again. And then I went up a third time after someone regraded it. So the grade right now is mint 9, auto 8. I don't know how easy or hard it is to see. But when I originally graded the card, it was a mint 9, auto 9. So whoever regraded it, the grade dropped. And then I guess because it dropped, I was able to finally win it back on auction. So after about a year and a half of not having this card, I finally got it back.
Damn, that was quite a journey, man. Yep.
Yeah. And the second one is this card. This is my personal favorite card in the entire TCG. A lot of people don't know about it. It is a very peculiar looking card. And it's really, really hard to track down. So like they gave these out. There's only like, I think 50 or 100 of these. I'm not sure about the exact number.
Wait, I think they shared to me in the Instagram, right? This is the one?
Maybe, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So there's only like 25 or 28 PSA 10. So this one really almost never comes up for auction ever. So when it did, I bought it and I've had it for a while now. So that's my favorite card, my most special card, and the most expensive cards that we have now.
Brad, I think you can showcase again.
yeah, I'll show again.
Just for the videos, yeah.
Yeah, so I got my Jirachi. This is signed by Kazuki, and it's actually a 10. It's actually a 10-10. I bought a PSA 10 from my friend. As soon as Kazuki agreed to sign it, I had to get one really quickly. So my friend came in clutch, and it ended up.
Would you mind to share how much that card worth now? If you were to sell up?
I don't really know. Kazuki's kind of a rare signature. And since like getting a card signed by Kazuki is very like personal, they don't really come up for sale, like, because I don't know, it's kind of like a favor, a special thing. So I'm not really sure. I think the PSA 10 of this card, I paid $300 like for it like over a year ago, so it's probably worth more than that now. But I mean it's priceless. Like if people ask like what is a card you'll absolutely never sell, it would be this one.
Okay.
So I don't really have like a number. This is my favorite spike-eared Pichu. There's 3 of these, but this art is like by far my favorite, and that's like what I use for my profile picture. And I don't know, I've just always liked it. It's actually why I named my company after the spike-eared Pichu. So I've always liked it. And so to have this card in like the best grade that you can get, it's pretty cool. I think this one is probably worth like $1,500 maybe. Like it's not that expensive, but it's pretty hard to get in this grade.
Yeah, the art is good. Yeah.
And some more signed cards. This one's Jimeno. Got this one signed at the same event that Max got his Pikachu done at. Mawile is my favorite Pokemon, so I actually have a lot of Mawile autographs.
Oh, you should like Mawile. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
I have quite a few. I only picked out a few of my Mawile autos to show. This is the last one. Saito drew a Mawile on this one because you can see Mega Mawiles right here.
Yeah.
and there were a lot of sketchers that came into this event, but I'm pretty sure this was the only Mawile that was done. So pretty cool to have the only Saito sketch Mawile.
Yep. Now,
Oh.
I can share my little. So, you see, Marvel have a very, how to say, a huge memory in my brain because if you play Ruby Sapphire, whenever you go to cave, you surely will meet Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Granite Cave.
exactly. It's crazy. So every time when I play, I don't know. At that time, I don't know how to use the max repel or repel to skip all the Pokemon, and I always meeting Marvel. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting hit by it. Yeah, and I got you on your your favorite moment for Marvel. So for me to share mine, I don't have expensive card, but all these are my personal collection. But why is it expensive? I would say in my heart, in Pokemon value might not be that expensive, because these are actually given by people. People give it to me for free because they say they want to bless me. Because I always mention this motto in the Journey community is that they always mention bless and be blessed. Because when that owner willing to contribute that card to sell below the market price, I will see that as a blessing. Then at the same time, I also hope the owner be blessed by the buyer itself. So it's both way. So that's where it comes from. They gave me. I'm not sure if you can see this. It's a SLR. Can you see that? Yeah, I think it's quite famous. To launch the new games, right? You can see it. I think.
Yeah, it's Penny, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I used it. Hold on. Let me. Yes. Can you see
Yeah,
that?
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah,
guy.
there you
The
go.
kid. Yeah, the kids. Yeah. So this is the first one. And just go like this. Can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one.
That's you.
Yeah. And also this Mewtwo. It's not expensive, but it's a very great art.
It's a really popular card now.
The Mewtwo
Yeah.
new tag team. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
It's getting crazy. And I would say the most favorite one. It is two. Latias and Latios.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I love those cards.
Those cards are
You
nice.
know
I
yeah.
used to have a lot of the blisters that they came from. They
Damn.
used to be super cheap, and I was just flipping them from Japan.
Cool.
Now, of course, I wish I kept them, but yeah.
Yep. And I think you guys know a guy from Malaysia, Kieran. Kieran, do you know him? The Twitch guy from Malaysia.
Is he the one that opens the sealed product?
Yeah. That's the one. And I
Grant,
met him.
he's the one who came to our booth and bought the
Beat of the Frontier.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I see. That's how you guys met each other. So yeah, I happened to meet him at the booth. I met him. Then I told him about my story, and he gave me this. I keep it until now because he's hoping to see the Zoro. Yeah, it was his number five.
Mhm.
Yeah, he gave me this. He just want to bless me to start the journey because I didn't know how to do it at the time. So he was asking me to maybe you can flip it or what. So I think in my mind I want to flip this because it's a very great memory for me. Even though I have no money, I want to flip this card because I think it's a blessing from these people. And yeah, I think these are my personal collections. And I'm really looking forward to today. My heart was pounding, and yesterday I was preparing a lot until I can't sleep. I can't wait to meet you guys because I still believe in the midst of businesses, yes, we need to find balance in all that. But the moment when you're able to see the people smile, when you give something to them or you sell them something, the smile in their face, I think that's what worth it. But of course, not to lose money a lot, right? So yeah, I think may Daisuki.TCG continue to be a blessing to whoever noticed you guys. And I'll just mention this in the video just for the sake of advertisement. Guys, just follow Daisuki.TCG. I'll just edit the video or edit the logo, put it here. I will just put your Instagram here. Just follow it, right? So if you need any cards, any advice, or any education topics you want to know, just feel free to ask them. Yeah. So I think that's close for the conversation. Is there anything you guys want to add on before we end the conversation?
Not really. Just want to say thank you. It was really, really great to talk to you. And I hope that, like you said, even like if a million people watch this video, even if just one gets affected by it, like to me, it's worth it. Like I love this is the first time I've ever really had a nice opportunity to publicly, share my story or give advice. Grant has been on one podcast before, but I haven't. So for me, it's a first. And I'm very happy that you gave us this opportunity to talk with you.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Anything?
No, I think we pretty much, covered anything. Feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions, and hopefully we'll make it back to Malaysia, sometime soon, because we had a great time while we were there before. So, we'd like to go back.
How soon is that? I think people would like to know that, if they want to meet you in person, like, is there any plan that you will come to Malaysia or Singapore?
I'm not sure if we have like a real plan. I don't know. Maybe some Singapore show, probably a Singapore show before a Malaysia show, but I mean, all the Malaysian collectors go to the Singapore shows anyways, usually, right? So, I don't know. I think there's one in November maybe, but I'm not really sure if the time works out for us. But we'd like to go soon. We had a great time when we were there.
Yeah, sure things. I think you can just announce in your post if there's one, that I'll just use my Instagram and announce it in my community, so they just ready to meet you. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe they need your signature as well in your future.
I think Max still has the Grab Taxi app on his phone, so we'll be good to go when we get there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I think I know you guys have the plan for tomorrow. I think I need a rest, okay, and you need your me time. So, okay, anything we keep in touch via Instagram. If there's any question, my community want to ask personally, I will just ask them to reach out to you. Is that okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. I think that's all for our call and conversation. We'll catch up soon. And when you come to Malaysia, please tell me. We're gonna have a meal together, all right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, man. Thank you for your time. And we just log off. Okay.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye.